What's good, y'all, and welcome back to this week's edition of Should You Summon. It is a Thursday again, which means tomorrow is the day where we could potentially be spending our resources, and the mission of this video, as usual, is to tell you should or shouldn't you, or at least give you a bit more of an idea of what you're getting yourselves into.
Our research begins.
So before we obviously get to the highlights, let's go briefly through the standard banners we've all seen 1,000 times. If you are a beginner player, mid-game, early game, mid-game, this banner is where you should summon if you intend to summon at all. Divines, I would still highly recommend using Divines always on a 2x banner. Divines on a 15x banner just hurts your soul. So unless it's a 2x by 15, I wouldn't really consider using my Divines on a Divine banner unless the heroes are ungodly broken. And then lastly, the surprise invocation of spirits. The way this works is you pull a legendary, you get another one. This banner is only worth in two scenarios. Number one, you're super close to pity, or number two, you can guarantee that you can hit pity. If you can't hit pity and you pull on this banner, this might be the most devastating banner of them all. But if it's only like 10 summons to your pity, or if you know that you have, let's say, 70 summons and are 70 away from pity, this banner is one of the greats because you're getting two legendaries for the price of a single one. And yeah, these are the banners. If you're close to pity, can hit pity, and you really have that trigger finger, summon here. And before we get into the current banner, let's talk a bit about speculative content, which is obviously the future heroes. We are 3 weeks away from Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day always had banger banners. At minimum, we're probably going to get a Silas Vierna rerun, or a Lust Arrogance, Hex Twyla, Salazar Kinesa, which is whatever, right? We might even get a Nora and also a Nora and Emerald back. And again, now with the added bond skill and the whole Valentine's theme, there is a distinct possibility of a Kigiri rerun combined with Yuri. So those are just already the characters we have currently, characters that are obviously super strong and also have a bond skill to go alongside of them. And then there is the units hiding in the shadows, the whispers here, whispers there, Diao, Chan, Lu Bu, but it's not really about who they are, it's about what they represent. And what they represent is Valentine's Day, again being one of these dates where Watcher of Realms really pushes everything, because it also works alongside of, for the Chinese market, the Chinese New Year. So yeah, it is basically one of these days where everybody has a bit of cash lying around, where the gacha companies come for your wallets, where they try to score that extra big hit. And that is also the reason why we are most likely going to be seeing at minimum one, but probably 2 unit banner that most likely includes a bond skill on Valentine's Day again, to also again play more into that romance type of deal in the whole bond skill scenario. And yeah, we are most likely even going to get one of those as a limited unit. So it is always one of the great ideas to just save for like the big holidays, the big events, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, summer festival, does it exist? I don't know. Anniversary, huh? Those are like obviously one of those where you can always assuredly just save and hold out. And that's also kind of what leads into this banner right here. Even though this banner with Zilitu and Bezeelbubs contains good units, there's no bad legendary on this banner, and that's undebatable. I would say the best approach here, unless you really want Beelzebub for something specific, because you already know what you're going to use him for, I would say try at least one, maximum 2 legendaries. Just do a couple summons, see if you can hit that Lego, and if the stars bless you, may he come home, and if they don't, save more for all these like more guaranteed to be better banners. Another surprise is also that we do not have a ancient banner, which means we can just easily save our ancients, and going into February might even run into some pretty cracked banners. So yeah, what are Beelzebub and Dolores all about? And let me show you something interesting about Beelzebub first. I got asked to make a DPS Beelzebub showcase, or at least show him as a DPS. So there's two reasons why he's never going to work as a DPS. Reason number one, his base attack at 2300 is just too low. His performance always ends up being, let's say, 25 to 30 to maximum 40% of a true AoE DPS like Karmit, Vierna, Boreas and such. And the reason is right here in the description of the inspiration buff. The inspiration says increases attack proportionally to the casted attack. Great! While this effect is active, other buffs affecting the inspiration will not take effect. Fine, basically you can't stack inspirations on top of each other. And then here, this line, additionally the caster is immune to such buffs. It is basically something that stops the character from scaling too hard. Because imagine Beelzebub would be giving inspiration, let's take a random number of 7000 attack. He would be providing 7000 attack, so 50% if it's maxed out, which means let's say he has 14,000 total attack. He provides 7,000 attack while also increasing his own attack by this 7,000, which would bring it to 21,000. And at 21,000, all of a sudden he would be providing 10,500 inspiration to a unit. And then all of a sudden this 1,500 inspiration would also be applied to him, which means he would basically scale out of control and end up with infinite attack. That's the reason why this can't quite work, and also why he's never going to be the same as let's say a Karmit or a Vierna, because he can't get inspiration, and he'll never be equivalent to another unit that's immune to inspiration, which is going to be Nora, because Nora's base stats and multipliers are based around the fact that she is immune to inspiration. And that is pretty much why DPS Beelzebub is never going to happen. Now we just gotta briefly talk about obviously where he's good at, right? His main selling point has got to be his range. He has a marksman plus marksman lord range, so basically 4 in front and then the 2 tiles next to it, giving him a total of 14 covered tiles if you discount his. So he can cover exactly 14 tiles with his inspiration. If we just want to take a quick look and compare that to, for example, Dolores right here. Dolores' range actually covers, you can see 3, 5, 2, so 7, it covers 12. So he covers 2 more squares and also in a more unique way, rather than, for example, Constance and Dolores, who can also inspiration buff behind themselves. He can't, but that also opens up a lot of possibilities for team building and such. So it depends on if you see a space. And also something that isn't really talked about that much with Beelzebub has to be his synergy with the Chaotic faction. Now, the synergy with the Chaotic faction just comes from the fact that he doesn't heal. Him not healing is actually a good thing. And the reason why it's a good thing is because all of these Chaotic units here, be it Volderon or Valeria or Lugaru or Claw or Sagak, they all highly profit from being low health. Someone like a Dolores, someone like a Constance just get in the way of that because they provide extra healing, which means you can't really skirt that edge and keep them as low as possible. You're also going to be noticing that in, for example, Arena, where let's say a A3 Volderon with a Beelzebub can be the meta when it comes to single target Arena, because simply nothing is healing that Volderon. He is going to stay low health and he's going to pump out that huge damage. So keep in mind, Beelzebub, he doesn't heal, which actually makes him very useful to the Chaotic faction, and also easily opens up Guild Boss 1 as an avenue for the chaotic faction to succeed in, because again, there is no healing incoming. So that's his speciality as not a healer. We've already talked about his DPS contributions. So now there's two other parts. Number one, he applies a 50% slow with his basic attacks, the same way his summon applies a 50% slow. And then you have this ultimate. His ultimate goes on for 16 seconds, max duration is 22 seconds. He summons these putrid flies, which have 100% of his base stats. He also pulls units towards the center of the ultimate, which you can kind of see in that video there. And also the slow actually increases to a 75% slow, making him, next to Greed, the unit with the strongest slow in the entire game. And that has to be worth a little something. Besides that, otherwise you have the magic vulnerability right here, which is also really great and might even provide some extra free space in your team to really just use them in. Otherwise, A1 you would be getting more vulnerability, A2 stronger inspiration, A3 extra rage regen that can also regenerate when his ultimate is active, and A5 is completely ignorable. So again, verdict, try to get one copy, try it. If you have the summons to try it, try. If you rather wanted to save everything to Valentine's, that's fine too. Lastly, we obviously have Zilitu. Zilitu kind of fallen from grace a bit, but still nonetheless a very strong unit, high magic single target damage, incredible self boost during ultimate going up to 380% for 35 seconds, which is ridiculous, as well as with the A3 turning into 45 seconds. Zilitu, one of those very useful units, be it the Inferno Trial, Gear Raid 1, Guild Boss 1, Guild Boss 2. You can always kind of find a space for her, and also beautiful range at 3 tiles in front and then the 2 tiles in the beginning, as well as the pretty much full range if you enter into her ultimate. So yeah, Zilitu is still a magic damage deletion machine, just a bit fallen from grace in comparison to, let's say, Hex and then the Wukongs and the Kigiris. So overall still a solid unit, but by no means as strong as she was around launch. Which concludes this week's Should You Summon, and we see each other in the next one. Peace!